everybody to mute themselves. That would be great. If you don't know where it is, it's the left side of your bottom screen. And that's going to be great. And then we're recording. So welcome, everybody. It's a first, actually, to have a afternoon call in the Gentlemen's Club. I'm honored to present, actually, one of the most amazing speaker I've heard so far on video, and now we have the chance to have him live. It's my pleasure to introduce Superstar Diamond Coach, Millionaire Club member, former CAB member, Elite 10 coach in 2010, 4 times Elite coach, 66 months in Success Club 10 legend, 4-time Summit speaker, 6-time National Call speaker. He taught the game plan and the 3 vital behaviors training. He's also a Fit GC member. And apparently he knows more movie lines than anyone of us. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Michael Ryan. Hi, Michael. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Danny, and thanks for the nice welcome. I really appreciate you guys being here. Sorry to throw you into a different call time. I just coaching a couple soccer teams for my kids. And so my own team calls are with my other leaders for the next couple months. But thank you for the welcome, and just, man, my kind of preface to this is like the lead-ins, the edification part, that's never about me. It's always just, I kind of had to unwind a long time ago why people would show up to meetings and why people would blow you off, or people who showed up, would they listen, would they not listen? And a lot of times they just needed to know, like, hey, this person's not full of crap. And they did the thing, they walked the walk. And, more than anything, I think when, like, they could take that Millionaires Club, whatever the, that title is, and they should just call that the consistency award, or like the stick-to-itness award, because it just means you didn't quit. You stayed through all the shit and you just kept going. And so the heck of it is like, life's going to happen to all of us. And we get these ups and downs, we get these journeys, we get these challenges, we get, whatever, things that happen in all different aspects of life, and they come out to play elsewhere. And so, when Dan and I were talking about this call and we were talking about things like what people need, there's a common thread with every successful coach, with every emerging coach, with people at every phase of the business. So I don't care if you're, you're new to the business this summer and you're just excited to grow this thing. I don't care if you're, if you're 3-star diamond, you're whatever you are. I don't feel that rank determines leadership. I feel like leadership determines leadership. And I really applaud Danny for taking the helm at this page and this group and getting everybody together in a spot, because, rising tide, all ships float. You put like-minded people together, and I feel like really good things happen. You can put like-minded people together and really bad things happen too, but in our case, we're doing really good things. And so, that, to me, that's a big thing. And I'm, I don't know, there's so many things we could talk about. And when you think about the things like, I don't know, just say the 3 vital behaviors and kind of maybe I like to know where things came from. Like if I read a book, I want to know, like, how did this come to fruition? Like why, and a lot of times they'll explain it in the book, but sometimes they don't. And so, I have some stories on that, but on the 3 vital behavior thing, that really was born out of the original game plan event, which happened in October of 2009. And I got to tell you, this was a very pivotal point in my business, like, to say the least. Like, this is the point where I went from, part-time income to full-time income in a 12-month span, where I went up 500% in business. But the backstory is kind of interesting, because my background was in real estate. For a long time, we built neighborhoods, we did land development. I had a Sotheby's franchise, and basically I was a realtor, broker, and, building this business, and life was great. Before that, I was a professional athlete. I was actually a professional skater with rollerblades. I used to go all over North America doing like stunt shows and whatever, and wrecked my body, and tons of injuries, a lot of surgeries. But I just knew that sorry, I just turned my phone. I thought my phone was off. So with regard to that whole situation, like, I felt like life was great. I felt like I was jamming, kicking ass, and everything was going great. And then 2008 happens, and Lehman Brothers goes bankrupt. Here's the oldest financial firm in the United States history, 166-year-old financial firm, and they let them go. And every project I had was across the street from a Lehman Brothers project. So we lost $400 million in real estate deals in a day. And that maybe sounds like a big number, and it sounds great, and it was, and we would have made tons of money on that. But really, when you think about how those deals expand and that we were doing development, that we did the new home sales and the contingent sales, and we would sell pieces of land out of a big project, we would get to touch that dirt over and over and over again and keep making money on it and keep bringing new people into the fold, new builders and mortgage people, et cetera. And so to watch all that go away, I really freaked out. I was like, man, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. And at the same time, while that's going on, my wife's saying, hey, we're out of shape. We need to do something. She's like, I need to do something. She goes, I want to go to the gym. She's like, give me a gym membership. And seriously, here I was in 2008. I'm losing everything. I mean, the writing was on the wall. I'm like, man, we're screwed. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm living on credit cards at the moment. And she goes, and so I go down to the gym closest to our house, and I checked out. Like, all I had in my head was like, the kids section needs to be clean, so my kid doesn't come home with pink eye. Like, that's all. I don't know why that's what I was thinking, but that's what I was thinking. And so I go there, and I prepay a 2-year gym membership with daycare to get the discount. And we never stepped foot back in that place again, because the next night we saw the P90X infomercial on TV, and like, I'm a customer lead. And so we found out about the coaching business a couple weeks into it, because our coach actually picked up the phone and called and said, hey, how are you doing? Like, she had been working with my wife online. I was avoiding the message boards back then. This is kind of before Facebook was getting out of the college circuit. And so when she picked up the phone and called me, I knew that, I think in hindsight, my wife wanted to get me on the phone with this person to find out what the hell this was. And I just decided, okay, what do you have for me? I'm standing in front of a house. I got to give back to the bank. It took me 2 freaking years to build it. Like, my life's going in the shitter. What do you have for me? And she's like, well, is this coming up in conversation anywhere, what you're doing with these workouts? And I kind of go, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, it is. That's weird you say that, because 2 of my neighbors just asked me what I was doing, and my parents asked me what I was doing, and one of my sisters. I go, I don't really think I'd look any different in 3 weeks, but I said, maybe I'm carrying myself different. But yes, to answer your question, yes, it is coming up in conversation. She goes, oh, well, good. You're doing what I'm doing. You just didn't get paid for it. It's like, whoa. I'm going broke right now. I'm millions of dollars in debt. I've leveraged the hell out of my life. Like, I can make money with this. And so I really came from a financial need. And I think a lot of guys go business first in this thing. And the key thing is that I don't care which way you lead. I don't care if it's business, fitness, nutrition. It doesn't matter to me. It just matters that once you're kind of like in the fold of based on what you need, because it's not about me, then you're going to graciously get into all 3 things. Because as you guys know, if somebody doesn't do all 3 things, they're going to be successful in this. Like, if you have a guy who's like the most fit guy ever, he goes to the gym every day, and he can, run marathons, do whatever he can do, but he hates Shakeology. Like, that guy's not going to be successful. He just won't be successful. And then at the same time, I've had people on my team. I had a guy on my team who was in the Olympics and big-time professional athlete after that. Extraordinary results with the programs. He was fantastic with fitness and food, great backstory, never put the business together. And I could give you 20 reasons why I think that is, but some people just don't put it together. But anyway, in 2008, when she asked me that question, I said, okay, I want to vet this deal. Like, I want to check this deal out, do my homework, I want to do my due diligence, make sure this is for real, because I'm not going to tie myself to some other sinking ship. Like, I got to go with something that's got the potential to move up. And we did our homework, and then I found the closest meeting to me was Tracy Morrow. I lived in Bakersfield, California. That's where I grew up, and I've lived there my whole life until a year ago. And we moved up to Bend, Oregon, which is like paradise. But she was the closest meeting. She was about a 2.5 hour drive from where we were. I remember dropping my kids off at my mom's, which I never did. I put a tank of gas on my credit card, and I'm going, man, I hope this thing works. We can get there and back. And we drove down to this meeting, and I got to meet Tracy Morrow. And in the first 5 minutes, I just am like, man, this is somebody I can trust. Like, this, you just get how real she is. And this is part of why I really love doing business person to person, is that you can look somebody in the eye and you can just know they're not full of shit. And I had a guy on my team one time who was back east, and I always worked with this guy online. And at some point, he got sideways with me about something. And I really felt like it was coming from his side, but I'm like, it takes 2, I don't know. And until we got to Summit, where we could look each other in the eye, did that guy finally calm down off of like a 3-month disgruntled whatever he was pissed about. And it just took, seriously, it didn't take 60 seconds to put it to peace, because we could look each other in the eye. And so I love with Zoom, you kind of get the flavor of that, and that definitely is a lot better than just being on the phone. But anyway, I looked at this journey in 2008. I kind of muddled my way out of that year because we're losing houses, cars, and all the stuff. I rode my bike for like the first 20 months I was a coach. And it was a crazy thing to have 3 kids and a wife, and every piece of advice I got from people was like, hey, you focus on staying married, because when people go bankrupt, they always go divorced. And I was like, what? That's a thing? I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. I'm like, oh shit. All right, here's another thing. and the most important thing. And so I really hit the gas pedal in 2009. I was right in January. I was a monthly winner of that. They used to call it the $1 Million Body Contest. Now it's the Beachbody Challenge. But I was one of those monthly winners. I didn't have a big weight loss thing. I lost like 40 pounds doing P90X, but I just went from out of shape athlete and I got back to super shape. And then I did more in 8 days with my business than I had done in the prior 8 months. And so this is one of these key epiphany things for you, for me, and for you too. The only change agent was me. Like, the business didn't change, the products didn't change, they didn't introduce anything new. At that time, they only had P90X. Shakeology wasn't even introduced yet. So we had like recovery drink, P90X, and Activit. And Activit, like, seriously, freaking vitamins, like, crap those things out. You know what I mean? Whatever. And then they had like Turbo Jam and Slim and Six, like programs for girls. And I don't know. So the only new thing they really had was P90X. And it was so hard that, you know, so many people just couldn't even do it. I mean, I think that, you know, like 95 people out of 100 would quit in the first 3 days because it was just too intense. But I did more in 8 days than I'd done in the prior 8 months. And so I took that energy and I said, man, this feels good to go help people. I'm going to go help people. And then the first couple people I helped, I really dug in and I was like altruistic, just like how Danny's leading this group. It's going all in. I'm not kind of halfway doing it. It's like a girl can't get kind of pregnant. Like, she's either pregnant or she's not. Like, I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. And that's just kind of how I go with things. I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to do the thing. I don't pass the thing. And then I think that for that first 10 months of that year, I probably talked more people out of this than you could even imagine. And I was just puking P90X stories and the passion of what this workout's done for me and all this stuff. And then partway through that journey, Shakeology comes out in mid 2009. And then we're puking Shakeology stories and 70 fun facts. And I do all this stuff from sports and nutrition days and whatever. And I thought, I'm going to show them the light, feature benefit. I'm going to tell them all this stuff. And I have this thing where, like, fun facts kind of stick in my head. That was the joke about movie lines. Like, those stick in my head too. People don't care how much you know, you guys. They just want to know how much you care. So, like, I didn't get that at the time. I think it came across that I really, truly cared. But at the same time, we need to go out and be more interested than we are interesting. And so it's like we're just throwing out a little bait and seeing something come back. And you put a little bit out. And so, you know, over time, that's how Tommy Migrant and I kind of unwound our version of the forming process, and how, you know, we just put a little bit of architecture to the conversation with family, occupation, recreation, message. And really all you're doing is listening for clues on people's lives. It's like, if I had 15 minutes to sit next to you at a Little League game, I'm at 13, 14 minutes of it's going to be in step 2. I'm going to be finding out about you as much as I can, because that's where all of what we need for responses or for information to help you exist. And you know, Tommy and I taught the How to Handle Objections class at Summit a couple years. And this last year we said, hey, you guys need to have, you know, other people on stage. Like, we've done this last 4 years, you know, put some other people up there. We need to be with our teams and whatever. And so those things are recorded. I can get Danny the links. They lightly overlap, but they're very complementary presentations. And so the thing with that is that really most objections are provoked. And I feel like when you get that through your head, you're going to go, oh, wait a second. Like, I don't get money objections virtually ever. And I don't project money issues, right? And so what I found through my journey is that I used to get those. I was having money problems, like we were broke and I was losing everything in it. And things just change. And as you keep going with this thing, I don't know, man, it's just interesting. I really, for me, it's like that book Failing Forward by John C. Maxwell. I feel like that was written about me. Like, I failed my ass off in this thing. And that's how I've learned how to do all this stuff. I was just smitten with failure. I'm like, I'm okay with screwing up a conversation. I don't pay my bills with your feelings. Like, I'm going to go out and do this thing. I'm going to sort through people to find the ones that want to do this. And when you think about it, like, everybody needs what we have. I mean, the first year I was a Summit speaker, it's like 5 years ago. I go, I'm on stage, Daryl Williams on stage with me, and he used to be a cop in Memphis. And there were 1,000 seats in this room, and every seat was filled up. And there were some people overflowing. And I said, okay, guys, just for perspective, how many people in this room, I said, I have my real estate background, so how many people in this room need to buy or sell any kind of real estate deal in the next, like, 90 days? And I think, like, one hand went up. I'm going, holy crap, this is worse than I thought. I go, or any kind of mortgage deal, refinance, whatever. Any kind of commercial real estate, resident. Next thing you know, I think I had 7 hands total go up. I go, okay, so 7, there's over 1,000 people in here, 7 hands are in the air. I go, now, out of a show of hands, how many people in this room have an active real estate license today? And it was like 15 hands went up plus me. I go, great. So there's 7 needles in the haystack. 16, the numbers are already screwed and skewed. But I go, how are you supposed to find those people? Because in the next given amount of time, I don't know, call it the next week or two, you're going to come across 1,000 people in your loop of life. They're talking about the grocery store, movie theaters, kid stuff, life, gym, whatever, right? We see people every day, unless you stay indoors all the time. But you'll see 1,000 people. How the heck are you supposed to find those people? It's freaking hard, And my point with that is that when you look at what we do, I go, okay, by show of hands, how many people want to look better, feel better, have healthy blood levels? Does anybody not want to wake up with cancer? Does anybody not want to wake up with diabetes? Do you want to look better naked? Do you want to feel confident? Do you want to look good with your swimsuit? Next thing, 5 seconds, you have 1,000 hands in the air. I go, soak that up, you guys, because that shows you that everybody needs what we have. They already need that. So anybody is your customer. Then it's up to you to learn how to relate to these people. So there's a talk about how to relate, right? So Danny, make sure we come back to relating. And so on October of 2009, they came up with this leadership event, and Darren Hardy was the keynote speaker. He's the guy that published the Success Magazine. You guys know you have that little success tab in the Coach Online office that has all this free personal development. So when you get people on your team who are in a tough financial spot, and you're telling them, do they need to read this or listen to that? And they're literally don't have any money, great. It's already part of your gig. You got it for $16 a month. It's there for you. And there's a lot of really, really good stuff in there. I mean, seriously, some epic info is in that tab. But they came up with this 10-point game plan, and they had Darren Hardy speak at this deal. And in with this 10-point game plan, I loved number 10. Number 10 was be here in a year. And that taught all these people that had never been in business before this isn't some get rich quick scheme. It's not some bullshit deal where you just put some money up and next thing you know, the magic happens and it turns into freaking gold. I don't know what the hell that's about, but you get a lot of MLM companies that do that stuff, and we're not that. We're network marketing. We're not really MLM. We're like health and fitness with a comp plan. And so they wanted to simplify those 10 points into what are the 3 most important things, and that's how we came up with the 3 vital behaviors. But that 10-point game plan was really, really good. And one of the key things that went with that is that they said, look, you guys have to stop puking these P90X stories. And they have these guys get up on stage like Robert Hudgens and Mark Briggs, and they have their wives get up on stage with them. And Briggs wasn't married, but then at the time, but they were telling my story. I'm sitting in the audience, and my wife's elbowing me. She's like, "You're telling your story." I know. I know. I'm blown away right now. We're all doing the same thing. All these successful coaches, we're doing the same thing I was doing, and that made me feel connected with them because I'm like, shit, we got the same problems. We're doing the same. We have the same problems. The team size really doesn't matter. The change agent is the same. The fix that we all need, if we all want our business to grow, I don't care if it's I don't know, there's so many successful people that are within this call, but if we all want our business to grow, we have to do more phase 1. Phase 1 is just recruiting. And that doesn't matter if it's retail or as a coach, whatever. You're just bringing people into your fold and adding value to their life. Our thing is add value to your life. That's my team's mantra. It's if you're adding value, do it. If you're not adding value, just walk away. We just don't do it. You don't compromise yourself for anything. And in this business, there's not really anything much to do that with. I mean, there's been a couple people that got kicked out for bonus buying and tried to game the comp plan or something, but it's not like those companies where you have these $200,000 bonuses or stuff that's worth doing that. And these people all got caught and kicked out. But in real estate, I watch people screw people over for money left and right. I can't even tell you how many deals I've been breached on. I mean, literally I've been burned on more deals than you can even imagine. If it was old school days, that's the stuff people would kill somebody over. And so in this business, there's nothing people can do. But if you're adding value, great, do it. If you're not, just don't do it. And so anyway, they came up with this disc back then. That was that blue Decide disc. And then later they came up with introducing Team Beachbody. So as antiquated as those may be, the message was pretty good. But today nobody uses disc, right? Everybody just sends links from, whatever, YouTube or whatever you have on your site. And nobody has the issues they used to have of being afraid to open a link. If they just know you and they've met you, they trust you enough to open it. That's a non-issue. So what happened is they said, look, you have to leverage your time and learn how to talk less. Whoever says, what was the guy saying? He goes, everybody write this down. He goes, the more I say, I'm like, I got all excited. I'm like, yeah. He goes, the less I'll make. And I was like, shit. And then he goes, seriously, you guys got to shut up. He goes, it's making a recommendation and let it land with somebody. And he goes, get them in front of the disc, get them in front of the material, right? So today it's just get them in front of the material, get them in front of the video. And I'm going to give you a really, really great actionable item for this to go with this, for you to make this personal. I mean, for now, for today, until you get what I'm going to recommend done, then find the videos that resonate to you that are within, you know, like Beachbody's YouTube channel, or if you see something like I think for successful male coaches, Josh Spencer is one of the best of the best. Tommy's stuff is great. I have some good stuff. Jimmy Nelson has some good stuff. You find it resonates with you. Maybe it's a corporate video, and use whatever you have. I don't care what it is, because you can put the worst person in front of the right info and they're not going to get it. You can put the greatest person in front of the wrong info. They're probably going to want to know more. They're going to be like, man, well, I don't know if this was it, but tell me more. So the thing that happened is that the reason why I went up 500% in business, 5 times income. I mean, imagine take whatever you make right now and multiply it by 5. Like, that's fantastic. And that was the same year I was going bankrupt. That was the same year literally life was just hell. And so 2010 for me, I mean, you know, I'm at Summit standing on stage as like, I don't know, a 2-star diamond. I think I finished the year maybe 5 or 7. I'm not sure, 5, 7, or 8. I don't know. And I was Elite 10 coach that year. And the thing is that I had this advice that was given to me when the day that Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. I was sitting with this wealthy developer or investor and a mergers acquisitions banker, and it was 3 of us in this guy's gigantic, ridiculous mansion. And he was just being a hard ass. The banker was just laying into me, and I'm like, buddy, this isn't helping me. I'm like, I got to drive home. I got about 6 miles to get to my house and go tell my wife we're going to lose everything I own. You know, you're bulldogging me here. Like, what's the deal? And he's, look, man, he goes, going bankrupt, losing everything you own? He goes, nobody effing cares. I was like, whoa. He goes, outside your wife and your parents, like, seriously, that nobody cares. I'm like, buddy, this doesn't help me. And he goes, Mike, nobody knows how much money you have in your wallet in your bank unless you tell them. I'm like, okay. And I was kind of thinking that fake it till you make it thing, and I never resonated with real estate people that were like that, but those people faked it to extraordinary depths. And I think some chicks in this business fake it to extraordinary depths. But he just said, look, he goes, it's not about you. You're going out to talk to people. He goes, they don't want to hear about your crappy situation. When you meet somebody, he goes, take that as a reprieve, take that as a break, that when things feel tough, that you can just, you know, if I'm running into Danny, I'm like, Danny, how's it going? He's like, Mike, good, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing great. How are you? I flip it right back on them. It's like a tennis match. I'm just hitting the ball back to them, and I make it all about them. And it gave me a break from thinking about my shitty life at that moment. And I'm going, okay. So I took this advice. And then the other big thing he said, and this is a key thing you might want to write down, because whether your life is swimming along greatly right now or not, something happens in life, we all need to know how to deal with it. And he just said, look, man, he goes, going bankrupt, losing everything you own. He goes, none of that stuff is going to define who you are. It's all how you handle yourself and how you come out the other side. I'm like, okay, that's how every movie's written, right? Shit happens in the beginning. Disney kills more people than any action movie's ever killed, right? They freaking kill somebody you love in the beginning of the movie. Crap happened to how the journey they had, and then how they overcame it at the end, and the movie's over and you go on, right? And so that's storytelling 101. And I just thought, wow, okay, I'm going through this thing. I've got my health. I'm back in great shape, like whatever. So in 2010, you know, so October 09 to October 10 was kind of where I measured that thing. 2010 was this breakout year for me. They said, look, whoever tells the story the most times wins. And by putting somebody in front of video material, you're leveraging your time, and you're going to get to tell your story way more times in a day than you could one-on-one, because we're all restricted with, not restricted, but we all have the same 24 hours in a day. I think restricted was a horrible word to use just now, because it's not a restriction. We have a ridiculous opportunity in life to do whatever you want. And so on that, you know, my 24-hour-a-day thing, and I don't know if you guys have heard this talk, and I'll give you the kind of the quick version is that, like, look, we all have the same 24 hours a day. So did freaking Shakespeare, Van Gogh, Einstein, Beethoven, Mozart, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Oprah, whomever, right? We all get the same 24 hours in a day. And I look at what these people did with theirs, and I go, oh, man, what are you going to do with yours? Right? And we think about, like Einstein, you know, everybody thinks, you know, oh, he's a super genius, and that's great. Well, like, his theory of relativity, it took 3 decades to prove that theory of relativity. He was literally lambasted for 3 decades in the only science journal that was published worldwide. Like, he was a laughingstock for 3 decades. How many people would just go into reclusion or go away or go into another industry or find a way to do into that? Like, can you imagine 3 decades of ridiculed on Facebook? I think most people can't handle about 3 things on Facebook negatively written to them, and then they try to tell you this business doesn't work. And it's like, no, you don't pay your bills with other people's feelings. And so he stuck to his guns on that deal. So it wasn't even he who proved it. It was 2 other guys who had to go through like a total war-torn country to prove this. And the whole deal with that is that that's what unlocked space travel. That's what's unlocked so much for humanity. It's ridiculous, right? And so, and then you think about what came out of NASA, and like I've always been into mountain bikes and sports and whatever, and so like I know about materials and how things were built. Every change that ever happened in sports equipment all came from what happened in NASA when they developed, how they really developed titaniums and carbon fibers and aluminums and all these things. I'm going, oh my God, from hockey to bikes to skis to like everything. You think about the million things we get to go have fun with, and you unwind these stories, and it gets back to this guy who was literally ridiculed for 3 freaking decades. And I'm going, holy shit, that's kind of a big thing. And you think about that each one of us is important. Every one of you has a story, and it's damn important. You all have a life. You've all had this journey you've been on so far. And like our common sense is just our collective life experience thus far. So here we are in the middle, and now going forward, we're going to get new common sense, right? And so it depends on what we're open to what's going to happen. And that's where I'll get back to relating in the personal development piece. But to kind of go full circle on this, and then one other thing is like when I mentioned like Shakespeare, that guy is responsible for 10% of the sayings in the English language. Like one guy, you know what I mean? And I could go all day with those kind of stories, but I think about those things when I think about my time wasting, and I go, okay, F that, enough. Like I can't do. I've got kids. I've got a legacy I want to leave. I'm only gonna be alive so long on this planet. I want to have something here that I made a difference in somebody's life, right? And so I don't know, man. I feel like that's a big thing, and the hell of it is we don't know when our time's going to be up. And so, and my family has heart history and some cancer history, but heart history big time. And I've got a whole story on that about how Shakeology, like I went and got a heart scan done in San Diego a couple years ago, and they fully expected me to have blockage and have plaque kind of rimming the aorta in certain places. And based on family history, and like my grandfather died in his 50s, my dad had a couple heart attacks, mom's side of the family, the whole thing, both sides. So you're like recipe for disaster. And my heart was totally clear. And the doc, this is how I had like 13 docs on my team in San Diego. It started at a heart scan clinic, and that physician who owned that place, and he was blown away and couldn't believe and thought I was on statin meds and these other meds. I'm like, no, I use Shakeology, man. That's not a med. It's just whole food. And next thing you know, they're putting all their patients on this stuff. And so, that impact that we make is a big thing, because now you think about all these people that, because we went into the doctor and got a physical or got a heart scan or got whatever done, we got done. Now they're paying it forward and they're helping people in a different way instead of just saying, hey, eat right and exercise and whatever. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but it's recorded so you can kind of piece this together. But so we leveraged these videos, okay? It taught me how to shut up. It taught me how to just say, hey, man, I don't know. All I know is you need to check this out. And so that was like my M and recommendation when I formed somebody. So a little bit about family, find out what they're doing for work, or how's everything going at work, and what are you doing for fun? That's my line in recreation for form is, hey, so what have you been doing for fun? And I don't ask them about what books they've been reading or what movies they've been watching. I want to lead them down a path. And so I'm trying to find out about the 3 pillars of what we do, right? Fitness, food, and finance. How's your life doing within those 3 things? And then that it worked. And then here's the hell of it, you guys, that duplicates. That's a really easy thing to teach your people. And my mentor that I got to start working with in 2010, about mid-2010, I was already well on my way to Elite 10. I was number 4 most of that year in the company. But he just said, look, man, he goes, don't just do what works. You have to do what duplicates. He goes, otherwise you'll have a great year and then it's going to be over. He goes, you'll go right back down, and you worked really, really super hard one year and you made a lot of points, a lot of money, and great. He goes, and it'll cool off. He goes, you have to do what duplicates. It's not about you. It's about building locally before you build globally. And it's like, whoa, that's a big thing, because I was ready to hop a flight to go meet with anybody and do all this stuff. And he said, no, it's all duplication. So I said, okay, what I'm doing right now is duplicating, because I'm able to teach my people how to get somebody in front of a video. That's not hard. They don't have to explain freaking anything. Like they get the easy out. It's like, hey, you know what? Even though I can explain it, I don't want to explain it to you. This will do it better than I can do it. So just check that out. It's only, say the video was 14 minutes long. Video is 14 minutes. I'll call you in 15, and I just want to hear what you like best. Like I'm not going to try to, no pressure. If it's for you, great. If it's not, great. And I use that line. That's a good one to write down. If it's for you, great. If it's not, great, because that disarms them. It takes the pressure off. And I unwound all this by screwing up these conversations, mind you. And every time I had a conversation, I'd spend the next 60 seconds. That was my limit. And it was like if I were in a store, it would be from exiting the store to my car. When I touched the handle to the car door, I was done thinking about that situation. I was not going to give it any more brain space. And I would just try to unwind, like, hey, what could I have done better? And it was literally like the movie Groundhog Day, and Bill Murray's trying to freaking get the perfect thing, get the girl to fall in love with him in a day, and he finally says everything right, and it's all the lines and whatever. Sorry, excuse me. As goofy as that is, the movie, like that was really what I was doing. And what I've done is just, John C. Maxwell talked about this. I was at an event with him, with Tracy Moore with him in Denver earlier this year, and he just said, hey, you want to know how to handle objections? He's like, go out and talk to people for 5 years. He goes, you write down those questions and find answers to them. He goes, you will not have new questions in 5 years. It can't be done because there's just only so many questions people have. It's like, holy cow, that's a huge, huge thing.
Mike, I have a question. You're talking about videos. When you share videos with your team, what video do you ask them to send? Is it the video that's in the Beachbody library about the Team Beachbody opportunity, or what?
Yeah, it depends on what you're talking about. So that's what I'm saying. I would look at what's in the coach. I would look at what's in Team Beachbody's, I was going to say YouTube channel, what's on your website. I like YouTube because those videos always work. And basically everything that Beachbody's made is already on YouTube anyway. It's on theirs, and you guys can just go. Like, I bought a downloader. I think now there's a lot of free ones. I bought one, I think it was like $20 or something. And I just Googled YouTube video downloader, and it downloads YouTube videos. And that's how when you see Beachbody come out with a new video, and next thing you know, 50 different coaches have it on their YouTube channel. You're like, man, how the hell did they do that? They just downloaded it with that software. And, I set those things to do it at night so it doesn't slow down my computer during my work time. Because I would love to have that on my channel. I would love it to be from me so that they're guided through me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind sending them to Josh's website because I know Josh is like the most ethical guy ever, and he's going to ask you if a coach sent you here. And if somebody's name comes up, he's like, yeah, dude, you need to call that guy back because that's who sent you here. So, see ya. And he's very guarded with his schedule. So one, he's being super ethical. Two, he's really minding his time. But here's my recommendation for the fix. So for the interim, watch those videos and see what resonates with you, right? So maybe it's the challenge video, maybe it's an opportunity video, whatever. Just get a few links, make a note of what they are, throw them as a note on your phone. You can even pre-write the emails as a note on your phone, like, hey, it was great to see you at the grocery store. Hey, it was great to meet you on Facebook. And here's a short introduction. Like Hillary Kelly had a great intro that she used to use. She's like, hey, I'm Hillary. I'm a stay-at-home mother too with an online fitness nutrition business. What do you do? So you get your little spiel about what do you say? Like, for me, I've said I'm a stay-at-home dad, but I work from home. But, really I just like, I have different things I say depending on what that conversation has been like those so far, or maybe if I just know a little bit about who I'm talking to. Sometimes I'll say, hey, I have 2 for-purpose businesses. Or like for purpose. I go, yeah, it's not, it's not for profit, it's not nonprofit, it's for purpose, man. I'm here to add value to people's lives, and I can do that through health and through health and fitness, and I can do that through business. And they're like, oh, that's really interesting, because people they really don't know how to respond when we tell them what we do, because they don't know what we do. It's not like if I sit down at Little League next to some other dad, and if he says he's a cop, I can say, oh, really? Are you police department? Are you highway patrol? Are you a sheriff? Like, it's easy to say. Somebody says, oh, I'm a lawyer. Great. What kind of law do you practice? You're a physician. Oh, really? What kind of med? Are you pediatrics? Do you do hearts? What do you do? That's easy because we grew up knowing what those jobs are. But it's kind of like, think about the people that work in any facet of online computer IT world, anything related to a computer, and how insulted they get when somebody says, oh, you must be great at SEO. And they're like, dude, there's like 5 million things you can do in the realm of anything tied to a computer. Why do you assume that I know that one? Like, they don't, so we need to find out about them. But I think it'd be a great exercise for this group to talk about how you respond to the question of what do you do for a living, and then look at what other guys are saying. And then, like, it has to be true from you. It has to be from you. Like, it's not about just taking somebody else's line. Like, if somebody else has a better line, great, use it, but make it your own so that it just flows right off the tongue. Sometimes I'll just say, oh, the P90X people from TV? Yeah, like, I have a partnership with them, and, they have a litany of other programs. All I do is health and fitness coach online. And most of the time they'll think, oh, you're a personal trainer. And I'm like, actually, no. And so you got to, I've been doing this 7.5 years. I still play with that. That's a moving target. But I think that's a great discussion for you guys to continue. And I actually have this discussion going in a different page of leaders. So I'll share what I find with you guys share what you find, and let's just work that out. Because there's a lot of really good ways to answer that. Because I got to tell you, if I told somebody I'm a superstar diamond coach of Beachbody, it means jack shit to anybody outside of this. Oh, sorry, man. There's somebody with a kid in there. I apologize. That means nothing outside of this room. You know what I mean? So anyway, but on the duplication thing, here's the thing for you. Here's the fix. Okay. Either use a GoPro, and I like that because the angle that it gets, or use your phone, and it needs to stick in the dash of your car, and you're going to get your best friend in life. I don't care who that is. Get somebody you're really close to in life. They're going to drive. You're going to find a nice freeway, stretch of road, something without turns and stoplights and all this stuff. Go for a drive, listen to some good tunes, get relaxed, and then have them ask you, so like say this is Damien. You'd be like, Damien, hey, so this Beachbody thing is, you're all about this thing, man. You seem to just love this. Like, why do you do this Beachbody thing? And then answer that in 3 minutes or less. 4 at the outside. It can't be longer than 4. 3 or less. What you'll find is you can probably answer it in like a minute 40, minute 50. It doesn't take that long. But when you're in the car with your best friend, you're in a very comfortable environment. You're with somebody you totally trust, and you have this completely. You're very authentic. Okay. So you're embodied, you're present in the moment, you're authentic, so you're not sitting there trying to tell them what they want to hear. It's your best friend. You don't care. You're like, you're just going to give it to them straight. Okay, that is going to be one of your greatest recruiting videos ever. Like seriously, to me, that's one of the greatest change agents you could have for your business is then you're going, how many people can I get in front of that? And you can make a generic version for your team to help them bridge the gap. But really they just need to duplicate that. And all it is put your best friend in the car. You don't drive, so you're no distractions. You're just kicking back, and you're like, hey, man, see, Danny, this Beachbody thing you do, like, you're all about, you love this thing. You seem to really be into this. Like, why do you do this? And you just answer the question and don't be repetitive.
What brings me to the next, my next major question. You spoke about personal development. Would you have any major items or investment that any gentleman would consider doing, like within the next year? What did you do? What's your vision on that for yourself and in the past, and knowing that it's a women dominant market right now?
Okay. So I mean, Carl put a great post out one day that said, he goes, the 3 vital behaviors are kind of like the password to your computer. He goes, if you're off by 1 digit, you don't get in. I was like, wow, that's simple and profound. Like that's really the case. And what I've found in my years of doing this, and I have a large team with many thousands of people on it, is that the ones that come to me and their business sucks, or it's flat, or they're not going where they want to go, or they've been out of rank, they've been out of diamond for 2 years or some crazy thing, or I have one person who's been out of diamond by one coach for over a year. I'm like, seriously? Like I could sign up a homeless guy. Like, how do you do that? And so I always do is say, hey, so what are you reading right now? They're never reading anything, or they're reading the same book. And I'm like, seriously, it doesn't take a year to read a freaking book. Like if you go buy the audio version of some book, they're usually about 3 or 4 hours. If that's how long it takes the guy to speak his own book, that's, give yourself an extra hour. It maybe takes you 5 hours to read the whole book. And I'm not the voracious reader like I am now, but I wasn't then. And I read a lot of business journals, and I read a lot of I was always keeping up with real estate stuff, and I read a lot, and I did some leadership classes in real estate and all that stuff, but I wasn't really working so hard on me. I was always working on how to do better at my job. And so in this business, I got turned on to the book Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill, and that's really the one that started it all. And I mean, his whole thing was that Andrew Carnegie, who was at that time, the late 1800s, is right at the turn of the century. He's the wealthiest man in the world. He had just sold out of all of his steel mills and the oil business he had. And he challenged Napoleon Hill to go out and interview the 500 wealthiest people on earth. And he's like, this isn't going to be a weekend at the club. This isn't a meeting at an office. You're not a round of golf. You're going to spend significant time with these people. It took the guy 25 years to do this work. And two big things happened. The first one, which is probably not surprising, is that he became wealthy in this process. And so that whole thing is, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future. That's all about you're a product of your environment. And if that's a simple thing. And so, but the big thing is he found out that they had the 500 most successful people on the earth. And mind you that over 2/3 of them were self-made. And then out of the people that were blue bloods that were left trust funds and big inheritances, the stats on those people losing their money was actually pretty high. And so, because they didn't have the business experience, they didn't have the thought process that the people before them had. So anyway, he found that they had 13 things in common. So I don't care if you're going to be a physician, you're going to be a vet, you're going to be a realtor, you're going to be an athlete, you're going to be a beach body coach, you're going to be a teacher, firefighter, whatever. Don't you want to channel whatever it is that you're passionate about in life through the 13 most successful traits there are? And when you read this, you're going to be really surprised, because like chapter number 1 just blew my socks off. And I think for every guy, it's going to really, really resonate with you. And you just read chapter 1 of that book, and if it turns you on, keep going. And if it doesn't, whatever, get something else. But chapter number 1 is called Desire. And we've all got a burning desire to do something. And that doesn't mean that we need to build the biggest team. It doesn't mean we need to make the most money. Like, it's about you defining what your version of success is. Corporate doesn't define your success. I don't define your success. Danny doesn't define your success. You define your success. And you make peace with that. So having said that, there are so many different great books that I could recommend, and I will recommend, and maybe it's easier to make a little list for you. But when you think about where these things came from, like take the 4-Hour Work Week from Timothy Ferriss. The guy drops out of, I don't know, he was at some Ivy League school like Princeton or Yale or something, and he drops out like seriously a month or 2 before graduation. I don't know who does that, but this guy does it to go start a company, runs it in the ground, does it again, runs it in the ground, does it again, runs it in the ground. He's now almost 30. He's freaking out. He's having a nervous breakdown. He goes to Spain. He's sitting in an apartment. He's like, I'm crying in the corner. I'm freaking out. I've just wrecked my life. I'm a repeated failure, blah, blah, blah. And the guy had to respond to the emails that he had. He was, I had so many emails, it was insane. I literally had to respond or like jump off something tall. I had to deal with this. He goes, but my mental capacity was like, I can give it no more than an hour and I'm out. He goes, I'm going to give an hour of these email returns and I'm out. And his first epiphany was this, that he realized he never had a more efficient hour in his whole life ever until right then. And he had extraordinarily focused time. So that was one huge thing he did. But you think about without needing to tell you all the things in that book, that's the gist of all these books, is that some other human being went through this epic thing in their life and they found a solution of some sort, and then it worked. And then they actually had the foresight to say, man, I should write a book about it. Like, I should tell people about that. And then they actually get it published. They see it through. Somehow it gets successful. And then sometime later, we all find out about it. Like, that's a hell of a lot of stuff to have happen before a good personal development book comes out. So when I'm holding somebody's book, like Darren Olean's new book, and Darren's a good buddy of mine, and I've got to know him over the years just through events and everything, and now spent some holidays together and stuff. And you're holding his life work in your hands. You're holding an incredible amount of his knowledge in your hands. And I feel a much deeper respect for some of these books than I ever have, because it's like, I mean, I don't know, take somebody who you really, really want to know more about, who's very successful in something in life, and imagine just getting to like drive with them in the car for a few hours and just listening to them go. You'd be like, holy shit, that would be the coolest thing ever. And that's what you're doing with these books. And so, for new coaches, I think Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect, is really great for a lot of reasons, because, it takes the impatience out. And a lot of guys are impatient. We want it to happen now. And it helps people realize it's the compound effect of what happens over time. It's like our fitness. Like, nobody gains or loses 100 pounds in a day, or, makes $1 million in a day, or whatever, gets ripped buff in a day. Like, it takes time. It takes that little bit every day. And you see some, like I was reading some girl's post the other day, and she's crazy fit, super beautiful, and like totally put together. And she's like, yeah, an hour or less a day, 6 days a week. This is what I do. She's like, I don't do anything more than that. I just eat really clean. I'm like, you would just think this girl lives in the gym and has AM and PM workouts and is manic and has a trainer and a chef. And it's not the case. Like, we have the most efficient stuff ever. And so I think about efficiencies, and I think about the compound effect. Those are big things. Start with Why from Simon Sinek. I would just watch his TED Talk. Anybody who's at Summit, you got to hear him. But his original TED Talk, Start with Why. Yeah, there you go. His original TED Talk is really probably one of the greatest things you could ever watch. And Tommy White and I have probably watched it 50 times a piece, because he shows you how you already have all the info in your head that you need to have an amazing conversation with somebody. It's rearranging that info in a way that lands with them and they don't reject you, right? And so not rejection in that they say no to what you have. It's reject you in the terms of like, you're sitting there talking to somebody and you're just like, God, when are they going to be done? I don't want to hear this. How long do I have till I can leave? And you're just not clicking. You're not resonating with them, And so his whole thing is that bullseye, right? So you have the outer ring is the what, the middle ring is the how, the bullseye is the why. And so for our business, the outer ring is the what. That's the products, right? P90X, Insanity, Size, whatever, all the new stuff. And then the middle, Shakeology. And then the middle ring is how. That's person to person, social media. Yeah, there you go, the golden circle. And so the bullseye is the why. And that's that conversation in the car with your best friend. Why do you do this? And then make another video. Why do you, that Shakeology thing, man, why do you do, what's the deal with that? Like, use it every day. Why? Tell me about that. Answer that in 3 minutes or less. And then have the same question with fitness. Have those 3 videos made. And that's your arsenal of tools to go empower amazing amounts of people. You could even put them on, you can build a blog site tonight for free, $50 or less on GoDaddy. And you can have those 3 videos on the landing page, and you can have a link that's your name or, Mike's Fitness whatever. You just come up with some URL. You have those 3 videos sitting there on that site. And then it's like, how many people can I get in front of that site? And the one that went there for fitness goes, whoa, I can make money in fitness? Look at Vito Lafata, man. There's the fastest millionaire coach in the business since Wayne Wyatt. Wayne went the fastest with the guys, then Vito was next. And Vito walked off a Wall Street job over ethics. Like, the guy is amazing. And to go be a personal trainer. And then basically he gets duped into going to this Beachbody recruiting meeting because this girl told him it was something else. And he gets there and he's like, oh, this is crazy. This is crap. I'm going to leave. And she's like, sit your ass down. You're going to watch this. This is amazing. I don't know how you're going to put the dots together, but you're going to put the dots together. And then he does. But what he did is he poured himself into personal development. So Vito's like, look, I have a message I need to go convey. I better be the best at sharing that damn message. So he went and invested in like the world's greatest speaker event that's with Bo Eason and Brendan Bouchard and one other guy. And then he went to Bo Eason, then he went to Shalene stuff. He's like, he's spent a fortune on personal development. So really it's looking at the things and finding your game plan. And I think the greatest thing, aside from just embracing personal development, is for you to pick your offense on how you're going to run. So for any of you guys that were at the Dallas men's event we did with Tommy and Dave and Jimmy and everybody else, Tommy's opening speech on that, I think, was one of the most impactful things, because I know that when I went superstar in 2012, sometime at the end of that year, I lost some diamonds because there was another company that one of the execs left to, and I lost like 300 people on my team. But more than anything, I had about 4 really key diamonds that like their spouses went to that company, and so those people were falling off. And now where the hell was I telling about right before that? I just lost my train of thought.
The conference in Dallas.
Oh, yeah. So Tommy's thing was you got to pick your offense. So when that happened to me, at that time, there were all these girls who were just blowing it up. So it used to be that there were plenty of guys who were really successful in this. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't that guys were going away. It was that a lot more girls were saying yes. And so I started looking at what these girls were doing, and I was trying to duplicate these other things. That wasn't me. That's not what I was good at. I was good at is just going and having a conversation and you realizing that I'm not full of shit, that I actually care, and either it's for you or it's not. And ultimately, I always had it in my head that it's never a no. It's just not right now. And I like how some people say it, like, it's just, they just haven't said yes to me yet. And I respect that. I don't know what's going on in their life. Everybody's got a story going on behind them, and we don't know what that is. And so, I mean, that's a really key thing, is that you have to pick what you are good about, and what, if it's going to be a Facebook like page and very focused ads, or if you're going to be the king of Instagram, or if it's going to be person to person. Like when I lived in Bakersfield, I knew everybody. So here, this is actually a great, for instance, it's the same way I did real estate. It's the same way I built my Beachbody business. I could just go out in that town because I knew everybody. I could run into people at popular lunch spots. I could go to Home Depot on a Sunday, go to my brother's sports shop and run into people I knew. And then I would use social media to follow up. And I had this nice footprint on social media. Then I would get their interaction, and that activity breeds activity. So that activity would spark people I didn't know from other parts of the country. And that's literally how I was picking up coaches from other parts of North America. They would just see what was going on with me really low. It was like this microcosm of, they got to kind of look into my life locally via Facebook. And I thought that was pretty cool. But when I moved up to Bend, Oregon, I know 4 people here. And 2 of them moved away and went to Costa Rica to go surfing for a couple of years when I got here. I'm like, shoot, I literally know nobody. Now I got to go work a purely cold market. I have no references here at all. And I'll have to go work social media. That wasn't my strength. Like Josh Spencer built with social media. But what he did to blow up his business back in 09, 10, 11 isn't what works today. So with social media, like to me, I don't care what, if it's social media or person to person, just pick whatever it is you're going to run and be the master freaking Yoda of that universe, that you know everything there is to know about that. And like, that's seriously, that's your thing. If it's golf and you're going to be the greatest in the sand, you know that gives you extraordinary confidence anytime you land in the sand. Or if the green is all freaking, you know, waves over here and you're like, God, I can't hit the green, but there's sand traps that are 5 times the size surrounding it, I'd be aiming for the sand all day long because I know I can play out of the sand and get it close to the pin. So you have to choose your offense. And Tommy's spiel with that was fantastic because he just said, look, you guys, he goes, I've been a high school football coach for 20 years. He goes, I played in college, and every team that we've ever watched film on, if they change their offense at all from week to week, month to month, year to year, he goes, that team has never beat us ever. And I'm going, wow, that's a pretty big statement. He goes, if they change their offense all the time, they will never win. They just don't win. He goes, we always beat them because we always ran what we knew how to run, and we perfected that thing, and those guys knew it in the dark. They knew how to play against all the other kind of offense and defense. And I was like, wow, that's an amazing thing to think about, that with this business, if you're always changing, you're going to be the master of nothing. It's like, you know, pick the thing and run with it. And then my thing is also to be a specialist. So no different than the guy that rebuilt my shoulder last year. Like, if you get out of med school right now and to go be a physician, you're not going to go do pediatrics and then go do oncology and then go do, you know, heart surgeries and go fix a blown out shoulder. Like, you're going to specialize. And the guy that rebuilt my shoulder is a buddy of mine from playing soccer growing up. And like, he does shoulders 70% of the time. He does knees 30% of the time. He doesn't do hands, feet, hips, elbows, backs, necks, just shoulders and a few knees. And he goes, eventually I'll probably only do shoulders because I'm getting so known for my shoulder surgeries. And I'm like, why wouldn't you not do that in this business? Because you can't be all things to all people. So in personal development, you're working on you, and it, like Sagi says, hey man, he goes, you know, when you work with Sagi private, like in nutrition or in blood levels or whatever, that guy's a genius, by the way. He's not the meathead he comes off in the video. He's like, Michael, you got to put your oxygen mask on before you help somebody else. You got to work on you. So blood levels, stress levels, you know, cortisol levels. He goes, personal development stuff. He's like, whatever's going on in your life, you got to study that. I'm like, okay. So if your marriage is screwed up, you need to be reading great marriage books because that's going to affect what you're doing in the rest of your life. If you're having, you know, I don't know. I mean, there's so many examples of different aspects of our life and what we deal with. And so maybe what we can do is, if you want to start a thread on the Fit GC page and talk about, you know, book recommendations. One, I've got a video I made, but it's like 2 years old. So I've got, I don't know, 20 other books I can talk about since then. But I got this video made that's short. It's like a couple minutes. And it has kind of my core list from back then. I can just add to it. But it's no different than when you read like Switch from the Heath Brothers. That was fantastic. And those guys must cite, I don't even know, 100 other books in their book. Like, they're so well read, it's ridiculous. And then the book that all the girls you have on your team, the best book I think for them in the longest time is that You Are a Badass from Jen Sincero. And Jen Sincero is the same way the Switch Brothers are. She recommends 3 books at the end of her book, but on her website she hasn't broken into genres, and she has like 100 of the book recommendations. And I got to tell you, like, some of the stuff she read, my wife read that book, and I felt like I've read You Are a Badass because my wife's talked about it so much, but I never read it. But the books that she recommends at the end of that book, some are specifically for guys, like The Way of the Superior Man from David Deida. That's fantastic. Like, you want to improve your sex life, you want to improve a deepening connection and how everything rolls. That is David Deida stuff. He is unbelievable. And that's the kind of stuff I wish I would have read in my 20s, because that would have given me a whole different kind of confidence that could have carried with me and just played, I could have played a more authentic, I don't know if deeper is the right word, an enhanced version of myself. I don't know. But, and then anybody that's dealing with, like, if anybody's had significant trauma in their life, like you know, I don't know, say childhood stuff, somebody was molested or raped or somebody died or you lost somebody close to you. There's so many horrible examples of those kind of things. But Byron Katie is this author from Southern California who wrote a book called Loving What Is. Yeah, Loving What Is. Her name's Byron Katie. She has this 4-question and turnaround process that is literally the most outstanding thing ever, because what happens is we have reality, and reality is like this pencil. And then we wrap stories around it, and it looks like a freaking, like, what's that stuff called at the fair the kids always want?
Cotton candy.
Cotton candy, right? You know what I mean? You got a stick. You're like, man, how do they make it all stick to the stick? The cotton candies are stories. That's the BS that we've put around the reality. This is reality. And almost always our stories are way worse than whatever the reality is that we went through. So she has the greatest way to strip away the BS and get you to reality so you can just go, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought, but I can release this and move on, and that doesn't define me. And anyway, there's so many great things. So to me, it's definitely not going to the bookstore and throwing a dart at the wall and like hoping you get a good book. It's not going to Amazon.com and doing the same thing. I mean, like Darren Hardy has a staff whose job it is at Success Magazine is to read all the new personal development books come on the market and opine, and they're at a 5% approve rate 2 years ago. He's like, and it's getting worse. So there's a lot of crap that comes out, and you get a lot of things that are people trying to rewrite the classics, and some other ones that I would say Personality Plus from Florence Littauer is going to be one of your most important things as a coach. Everybody refers, and when you hear him talk about personalities and you hear him use names like Ruby, Sapphire, and Pearl and all that, that's the Jim's names that Danny Johnson used. Danny Johnson really just ripped off Florence Littauer's book, and Florence Littauer did her postdoc work on this, and she basically evolved what her professor taught in the 70s and really perfected it. And that guy's like, look, she took my work and made it so much more clear, and it made it in layman's terms and people can understand it. And so like Tracy Morrow has everybody read the first 2 chapters and take the test so that she knows what your personality is, so she knows how to talk to you. Because if I go Sapphire out on somebody and I'm all life of the party and excited and I'm not organized, and I take that Emerald personality who's super organized, I just shut them down and they're like, you're not my guy. So then imagine that you sign up 10 coaches next 2 months and you turn off 8 of them just because you didn't know how to connect with them. So Personality Plus is vital, and you want to know that stuff. And I mean, so I read that book twice. And before I went through a seminar where they broke the room into quadrants, and you sat, you listened to them, and they're helping people that needed to move sections and realize that's not who they are. It took me a long time to really know that with some depth. So respect that it's not one read and you're going to just know it all. And then something that I happened to me right after Summit this year, this is kind of fascinating. Somebody made a recommendation for this TED Talk from Susan Cain, and she used to be a Wall Street lawyer. She is a Wall Street lawyer and now an author. And so she gives this TED Talk about introverts. And when somebody told me about this, I was like, oh, I wonder. And it just kind of made me wonder, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I started watching this. I was like, oh, yeah, like that's my wife. That's my stepdaughter. And I'm going, I got done at 18 minutes of this thing, and I found myself just in an emotional state going, oh my God, I have effed up thousands of situations with my spouse and my stepdaughter because they were introverted and they needed something else. And that's not part of the 4 major personalities. That's just respecting that they need to be nurtured in a different way. And I think for guys, we're happy to take responsibility, man. I'm a fixer. I'll fix freaking crap. I'm on it. Like, you got a problem, I'm going to fix it. And that didn't work for her at all. And so I like, it's just a journey, man. And so that's why for you guys, I mean, you can be a single guy and it's none of that stuff really mattered, but the Personality Plus will matter because that's how you connect to people. But then again, if you're a single guy, I would want to know this stuff because then I would have a way more fulfilling relationship experience in dating and in just meeting people and the whole thing. So I don't know. I know that's a lot to throw at you guys. I mean, there's so many awesome topics we could talk about. I can get you my diamond diagram and talk about how we break diamonds. I mean, there's so many things that we can kind of make a series out of this stuff and maybe focus it in because I know I hit you with a lot of different things and do shorter calls that are focused on topics. But I hope that helps. Danny, do you have any questions, anything?
I think we're like, yeah, I just feel your passion. I think the guys probably feel it as well. But if there's, I think Damien is asking about the diamond diagram.
Yeah, it's generic. You're going to look at it and laugh. But I got to tell you, like, so let me just give you a quick little spiel on how I went superstar. And you can do this for any rank advancement you want. I had a blank wall in my office, in my house. It was just an empty bedroom, right? And my mentor said, look, he goes, this blank wall is not doing any good. You got to fix this. I'm like, yeah, what are you going to hang pictures? He's like, no. He goes, get dry erase boards up there. And I couldn't find that they were out of stock. And so I bought that giant Post-it paper, And if you just so you know, the Post-it paper doesn't bleed with Sharpies. You can write on it all day long. It won't get on your walls. It actually sticks and resticks. The office store brands don't stick. And then he goes, put your key people across the top. List your key people out. Left side, right side, left leg, right leg. He goes, and then you need to know 3 names underneath each of those or more. Like, all right. And I was on my way, and I had a bunch of people, and I was recruiting like crazy. I was signing up 5 coaches every other week, and so I had all these key people. And then I realized I was all excited when I get to Judd and Anna and Aaron, and people had tons of people underneath them. And I get to all the other people. I was like, oh crap! They show up to my fit club every week. They're bringing guests. They're doing stuff. They're telling me what I want to hear, but I don't even know anybody they know. I'm like, that's a problem. And it made me unwind it. And so I started with that, with the simple thing of a list of key people across the top. And I don't care if you have 3, great. Like if you end up over time with a dozen, you're going to have a kick-ass business. Like it doesn't take a lot of people to make a lot of money in this business. It takes empowering people to have leaders in this business who take this and run and make it their life's work. So then that morphed into this diamond diagram. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put 15 diamond diagrams up there or more. And if Damien's on my team and he has 9 coaches, I got 3 circles to fill up, and that's going to drive a hole in my head until I help him fill up those 3 circles. So just like when I chimed on the call here today, you guys were talking about giving away discount coaches or not. I went through that same thing and did the same thing. And so I've got some good people that are underneath dead coaches now because they were given away. But a lot of times, if you're like 1 or 2 people away from a big rank advancement, maybe that makes sense. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. I would just, make peace with that it takes time to build this thing. I walked away from the quarterly bonus pool just as kind of a side note. And I know some of you guys are on Bob Lucido and Keith Callahan's downline, and those guys teach a different plan than going for the quarterly bonus pool. And that's a fantastic plan. It really is, because they have massive income and no stress, and they don't care about being on stage. They're like, I want my people to be on stage. It's not about me. And so that's leading from the back of the room. So that's down the road for you guys as your business is big. And, Danny and Damien, like I know Damien and his wife's business is getting huge. And so that's your next step. And that's where all you guys are going. And I remember sitting in a room in Vegas in 2008 or 9 with Pete Pena and those guys. And Pete was the first millionaire in the coach in the business. First top coach was male, and the guy's a freaking stud. But I just remember looking at him and going, man, if that guy can do it, I can do it. And no disrespect to him, but I'm like, I just needed to know it could be done. And that's like Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile in 1954 with crappy weather and not great training conditions and thousands and thousands and thousands of years of our written history. Nobody ever broke the 4-minute mile. They ran a marathon 2,000 years ago, but yet that never got broken, right? And then the same year he does that, in the next like 18 months after he breaks the 4-minute mile, 33 other people broke the 4-minute mile, and one was a high school kid. So no one for many thousands of years, one guy does it. Next thing you know, 33 people do it. Like this, that's just the power of believing. You guys know it can be done. It's just up to you to go do the thing. And that gets back to unwind it. Whoever tells the story the most times wins. How do I efficiently do that? And know that as soon as we all look to other material to tell the story, that's okay. But the best material is going to be you telling your story, because that 4-minute video in the car, 3 to 4 minute long video in your car. Because think about this, you guys. There's like 300,000 Beachbody coaches in this network, and it's only growing. And they can buy it from Beachbody.com. They go to Amazon, which has the best shipping on earth. Like, I don't know how we compete with that is unbelievable. But why are they buying it from you? Why are they buying it from me? They're buying it because of you or because of me. They're following you. They're not following Beachbody. They're following you. They're not following P90X or freaking Size or Max 30. They're following you. You inspired them. They're willing to follow you. So don't act lost. You know the way. Yeah, I'm going down the successful path. You want to follow me? Come down my successful path. Match me step for step. I'll show you the way. And disarm them. If you want to go down a different path, that's cool. That's fine. You'll get my heart, just not my time. But come with me down this path. I will show you how to do it. I will walk a few steps in front of you. I'll walk beside you arm in arm, but I won't walk behind you. Because I can pull a rope. I can't push it. And that's your, in your getting started right talk. That's in your challengers talk. That one thing changed my business so much. And that was in like 2011 that changed my business. I was already kicking ass and life was great. And that made a big, big difference. One spiel. And that was me and Tommy Migrant in a bar one night. It was like a leadership late one night. And some girl asked him how to do a getting started right interview. He goes, Mike, come here, let's do this thing. And we were success partners and we're going back and forth. And he says that line. And I was like, what are you doing? He goes, you don't say that? I was like, we never talked about that. He goes, you know what, you're right. So even though we're success partners, talked every week, I missed that line. And what I was missing in my business was that strengthen the conversation. I was too nice to people, and it was kicking my ass. And it made me think of that conversation that Bill Wheeler had when he used to work at Beachbody. He had a 1-question final exam at Purdue. It's the last thing I'll tell you. He has this 1-question final exam for the Master's Nutrition Program at Purdue. 12 years, no one got it right. And the question was, what's the most important nutrient? No one got it right for 12 years. He goes, I got the most articulate essays on vitamin D, omega-3s, water, aminos. He goes, you name it, I've read it. They've been amazing. The answer is, it's the one you're missing. Everybody's missing something different in nutrition. That's the same thing for personal development. That's the same thing for this business. And so what I was missing in 2011, in spite of having a kick-ass year and going up 500%, all that stuff, I was open to learning because I'm like, I do not have it all figured out. I mean, I'm open to learning. Tell me how to get better. I'm coachable. I'm not doing this with ego. And that was that thing. It was, hey, man, all I'm telling you, you want to do this? And so say you're doing a GSR, you're doing a Getting Started Right. You can do this with your challengers just the same as you can do it with your new coaches. And it's a simple thing of, look, I want to know about you and your goals. You're finding out about your goals and helping dig it out. And you're like, hey, if you tell me you want to go travel, I want to know about this trip to the point I can see this trip like I've seen your pictures and you haven't even gone on it yet. I want to know how it's going to feel when you're doing this. I have the whole detailed thing about that. It's to get them to talk. And get to the end of that, I'm like, look, this is important to you, right? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, is it deeply important to you? Yeah. They'll always answer yes. I'm like, okay, great, because I just want to know if you trust me. And they're like, yeah. And they always answer yes. Rarely, I don't think I've ever had a no on that. Like, great. Okay, so here's the deal. I know what I'm doing. I'm going down the successful path. Come with me down the successful path. Match me step for step. I always gesture to one side. I'm like, come with me down this path. I will show you how to do this thing. You got to run with me, jog with me. I'm not going to walk because I'm jogging or running, but come with me and I'll show you how to do this thing. And I go down and I'm like, if you want to go on a different path, that's fine. You get my heart, just not my time, because this is where I'm going. If you're going somewhere else, this is my journey. But you can come on my journey. And I'm telling you, that has been the greatest change agent to my business ever, because it calls them out. And then it's your onboarding process. And I think with onboarding, it's clunky, but it's always going to be clunky in any business, because if you went to work in some company right now, you got to get to know what goes on, the nuances of everything in there. Who does what? Who runs what department? How does this work? What happens if this happens? And you get a lot of that what if, and this happens, now what I do, this happens, now what I do. This is no different. It's a business, and I have the appreciation for business because I've been in business for a long time and self-employed. And I just knew that, in the beginning of any business, you work the most hours to make the least amount of money. And then down the road, you work the least amount of hours to make the most amount of money. And so, go work really hard for the next 5 years and you're going to have a life that's like ridiculous. I mean, if you do it all right. And so, disclaimer, I'm not guaranteeing anything, making representations, not quoting tax advice, but like people go to college for jobs that don't exist anymore. I mean, look at how public education was set up in America. I don't know, that was 180 something years ago. And the hierarchy of subjects were chosen based on the jobs that were available at that time. None of those jobs exist anymore, but yet our subject matter is the same. The hell is that about? Seriously, what's that about? I have a sister who's a principal in school. My wife was a 4th grade teacher. We talk about this stuff, but their hands are tied. It's bureaucracy. They aren't the decision makers. They're playing a role and they have a job. You know what I mean? So I want to teach my kids how to think. Like, yes, go through these things, do these things, go to school, get a degree. But I'm like, your degree is a fallback plan. Go chase whatever it is you're passionate about. And that's just going to make life easier for you when shit happens, because it's going to happen. And when I was talking to Darren Hardy about real estate stuff, because he was a real estate guy in the beginning, just like I was when he came up, and he's like, Mike, he goes, I was telling him about losing everything I own in this day. He goes, hey, until you've done it 3 or 4 times, then come talk to me. It's like, oh, wow. He's been crushed in deals multiple times. And it took him time to get this thing. But that guy invests 10% of what he makes every single year in personal development. And he goes, year one, it's easy. He goes, you're making $100,000. You can spend $10,000. You go to a couple seminars. You go to one seminar. He's like, you can go to read some books. He goes, then you're making $1 million. He goes, try investing $100,000 in stuff. He goes, it can be done. It's not going to be easy to write those checks, but it can be done. And then he goes, what happens when you're making millions of dollars a year? He goes, good luck finding ways to spend that on personal development. He goes, but I do, and I keep making more every single year. And he goes, and this is the thing that keeps me real. It keeps my marriage happy. It keeps my business healthy. It keeps me relating to all my staff. He goes, if I wouldn't, he goes, I just keep, every time I challenge the thought, I'm like, oh, what about the conversation I had with so-and-so? It changed that person's life. Oh, and this conversation, this, and he's like, and I keep making more. So how do I go away from spinning that to invest in me? Because it empowers me to help others. I'm going, wow, that's big stuff. So anyway, I know I've been on for a while, so
it's funny you say that because I had the chance to see Eric Worre on Monday here in Ottawa, and he was actually mentioning the exact same thing that you just said, that you need to invest at least 10% of what you're making in your personal development. So I invested myself in a year plan on multi-level marketing, basically on one of his trainings. So there's 4 trainings included in that, so which is interesting. So I paid $100 for that, and I'm starting with that, and I'll see what else I'll do. But you know, as a step, and you know, I made a statement to myself that I was making something else happen. You know, it's more than books. It's, you know, like you want to be doing something that's going to be like, you know, giving you feedback in the long run. So
absolutely.
So yeah,
and that's it. It's called feedback. It's not criticism.
Yeah.
Right. They didn't tell your wife was ugly. They didn't tell your kid was fat. That's criticism. That's feedback, what you're talking about. Right. So when we get off our ego, and this is a guy issue, is egos. You get off the ego and we get open. And for some guys, it's tough to be vulnerable and be real. But I can tell you that for me and my investment this last 12 months on personal development, I was really at the crossroads, and I'm watching what all my friends are doing. I'm like, okay, I had all these friends that paid big money to go in Shalene's private mentorship. People went to Darren Hardy's private mentorship. People went, I can name them all, right? And from Danny Johnson, all of them. And I thought, for whatever reason, it just wasn't sitting with me. I'm like, I'm learning this stuff, and I'm hearing enough about. These are some of my closest friends, you know, Jimmy Nelson, and Tommy, and Josh, and Hillary, and people I really respect and have massive businesses. And I'm listening to their stories. I'm like, I don't know, that one doesn't sound like me. I don't know, that one doesn't sound like me. I'm like, I don't know if that's what I need right now. And so then I found a life coach, right? And she does coaching, and it's no different than I had a mentor. But I got burned by the last 2 mentors I had because they were corporate related to corporate, the people that went and opened other companies, and they took I lost hundreds of people. I'm like, that sucks. So I wanted somebody outside of the industry, and she's actually a counselor by trade, but she also does coaching and tears apart what you're dealing with and how whatever your mission is. She's like, let me help you unwind this. And I love working with smart people like that. I mean, she's a psychologist, so she knows people and she knows personalities. And my first conversation was about Personality Plus, and it went from there. And I got to tell you, my relationship with the people on my team is ironically not as frequent as it was, and it's better than it's ever been. Because it's not quantity of time with my people, it's quality of time. And it's a deeper, more meaningful relationship. So whatever it is that feels right to you, just go with it. And again, it's always feedback, and you're looking for perspectives, and you're looking to be open. And I got to tell you, I thought I was open for a long time, and I didn't realize, like, you don't know what you don't know until you learn a little tiny something. That's being open. Now I'm like, I'm open, and I have my BS detector, and I filter, and I just want to learn, because I know the more I learn, the more I can help other people. And I stay true to who I am, and I have, here's my top 5 things about who I am, maybe I have 6 or 7, and I market to those things to find people that are most like me. But I want to be me. I want to be when you're being the most authentic version of you ever, that's when you are the most received by another person. Even if they aren't your person, they're gonna be like, man, that person made me feel good. I don't know, but that person's on it. They're a good human being. And I may not want to do workouts right now, but boy, you're awesome. You know what I mean? And so the only way they're going to feel that is for you being open and transparent and authentic, and you know. So anyway, I think this thing's a super fun journey, because there's something that just feels great about helping other people. You know, I don't have anybody on this call that's on my team. I'm just doing this to help. Danny said, hey, we talk to my guys. I'm like, yeah, because I want to pay it forward and share with these tidbits that I've learned, because they've really helped me and they've helped a lot of other people. You guys do the same thing. And then, you know what, next thing you know, you're going to be running a call, and you're going to have some of my people on there. And it all comes around, man. It takes a village to raise a child. We're just in this thing together. And, you know, I think that guy, Trevor, can't think of his name. He made that funny video the other day about beach body coaching for guys. He had the tequila out and stuff. And it was hilarious, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Trey, not Trevor, Trey, right? Yeah. And I look at this, I'm like, he's marketing straight to guys. He's smart. He's funny. And I got to tell you, the first video I saw, when I saw videos like, I don't know, a couple years ago, I didn't really get it. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I met him in person. I was like, this guy's really cool. He's legit. He's not full of crap. That's just who he is. And I needed that face-to-face thing, you know? So it works, man. Play to your strengths, work on your weaknesses, have fun, and, you know, just repeat, be super consistent. And consistency is never the sexy answer, but it's the answer. So
yeah. For sure. Before we go, would you mind taking 2 questions, Mike?
Sure.
All right. So whoever has a question right now, feel free to unmute yourselves. Damien, Matthew.
I don't have a question, but I can. I just wanted to make a statement on, your presence in the call, and I can tell why you're a 15-star diamond. That you're a superstar diamond. You have a very attractive personality. Like I feel like people are drawn to you, and you have a very you have a very smooth way of talking to people, and you're very comfortable with yourself. And I think that's what a lot of people actually need to be successful in this business. Don't have,
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. And I got to tell you, in the beginning, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I mean, I tried to take what I knew from real estate and apply it to this, and it didn't really apply. And I mean, you're in the personal relationship business. That's the common theme to all of it. And so I remember seeing Tracy Morrow and Doug Fitzgerald speak at this event, and they were just so eloquent on stage. I was like, wow, how the heck, like, where'd you guys get this ability to connect with people? And part of it's their journey of life. They're just great human beings. And I thought, okay, can I be a better human being? Like, I don't know. That's a thought that I was like, I need to be better. And kind of like, I love how, and I wish I would have met Vito a long time ago, Vito Lafata, because, I mean, when he went, as soon as he gets involved, he went to the best training he could find so he could be the best at this. And I was like, that's really freaking smart. And I was going broke, so I just had to figure it out. I had to do it the cheap way. And but I saw those people on stage, and I thought, man, I want to do that someday, because the person with the microphone is inspiring these people. And if I can inspire somebody, and then they're the next person with the microphone, that's what's really going to build my depth. It's not about me. It's I ultimately want to lead from the back of the room. And that's your vision down the road. So for a while, you do need to be the guy with the microphone, and be okay if you suck at it, just to keep getting better at it and practice. And dude, I gave some seriously shitty presentations for like, oh man, have a stop time on your presentations. Know how long they need to be. So yeah, I think you get that today. I mean, we went an hour 20. It's a long time. So I appreciate your guys' time.
I got a question. I actually do have a question for you though.
Yeah.
Relating to your personal development. I actually while you were talking, I had it, and it just popped right out of my head. But it was about personal development. What would you suggest for personal development as far as I know you gave a lot of books, Personality Plus, Start with Why, the Napoleon Hill book. What was that?
Napoleon Hill is Think and Grow Rich. So I would do is probably buy like a handful of things. Read chapter 1 of Think and Grow Rich. Read the first 50 pages of Switch from the Heath Brothers. The first 2 chapters of Personality Plus and take the test. And then if you're married, you should read the 5 love languages, because it's freaking brilliant. And I can tell you from having read that, putting it against my own marriage, and then talking to my friends who've been through divorces, there's 5 love languages, right? And it's like, if you're not speaking the one or you're not performing the one that's the most important to them, you can go 10 years being polite, and you think you're doing everything right, and then you end up resenting each other because you were doing acts of service and all she wanted was something else, And so I think for marriage, if it's marriage stuff, it's the 5 love languages. There's an author from the UK that wrote a book. He's a top marriage guy in the UK named Andrew Marshall, and he wrote a book called I Love You, But I'm Not in Love with You. And he could easily rebrand this as the 6 seasons of marriage, and it was really fascinating. Because like Shalene's always talking about, she's been talking about this for the last 6 summits about, she always makes an offhand comment about, if your marriage is important, you should do something about it. And I wouldn't never do anything about it for a while until then things were in trouble. And I'm like, well, I better study now. And it's like, that's not the way to do it. Be in front of these things. So his book really dissects the 6 seasons of marriage. And I think it's fascinating because it's like, whoa, this is just what happened. This is normal. And this is how you deal with it. And here's how you rekindle this. And you could be ahead of those things to where it never even happens. And it's freaking brilliant. So I just know that, a happy salesman sells. And so if somebody has a horrible home life, you're either using this as an escape or it's dominating you. And that's a real thing. So whatever it is that's germane to somebody's life. What's the other one? I'm going to look at my rack here. Oh, Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Jab, 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 Right Hook, is brilliant. Tell to Win from Peter Guber is fantastic. Peter Guber has an audio, though. He has an audio that unfortunately you can't really search it by name in the Success tab of the Coach Online office, but it's in there.
I think we lost.
Or maybe only make in North America. I don't know about all the soccer stuff in Europe, but he's self-made billionaire, right? And he shares these two epic stories of one epic story of failure and one epic story of how he was sold on a story for Magic Johnson. And it was unbelievable. Really, it was unbelievable. And it's like 20-minute audio, maybe 30-minute audio. It's Darren Hardy interviewing this guy. And it just makes you realize when you go in and fact people, you're just killing it. You know, it's like the person is a tree and you have a fact axe. And every time you spew a fact, you're cutting into the tree and you're just killing your deal. You're just killing the person. And then facts tell and stories sell. So whenever you can relate things and put it into a story, man, that's fantastic. And I got to tell you, one year I was coaching soccer, and what was okay? So there were all these people. You know, you sit there and you trust your kids with these people, and a lot of times you don't even know their names. You just hang out with them all season long, and you're all sitting on the sidelines, and you don't even know. I mean, like you met them at first, and you can't remember their name, and then it feels awkward. You don't ask their name again. And so towards the end of the season, somebody comes up and somebody asks them how they're doing. They're like, "Oh man, I'm doing great. We're so happy to be done with our backyard landscaping." And they go, "You just got your backyard landscape?" They're like, "Yeah, we were so excited. We've been waiting a long time. We saved up, and you know, we really kind of went big, and we did this and that. And boy, we can't believe what we spent." And they're like, "Wow, sounds pretty huge." And he goes, "You know, I'm a backyard landscaper." And they're like, "What?" They're sitting on the sidelines next to each other for a whole soccer season. That guy's business sucked. He needed business. They spent $25,000 on a landscape job because they didn't communicate. They didn't connect. And so John C. Maxwell wrote a book that said it was called like Many People Communicate, Few Connect, or something like that. And then he has another one called Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. And okay, this will officially be the last thing I'll tell you. So Maxwell has this thing he's been doing. Here's the most successful leadership authority on earth, right? As far as today. And he has this intentional lunch that he does. He does it 6 days a week for the last 40 years. And he wants to sit with somebody different. It's always somebody different. And he finds somebody who's a big mover and shaker in something, somebody who's smart and brilliant in something or doing something special. And he starts with, what's the most amazing advice you've ever been given in your life? It's his opening question. Like, can you imagine learning that from different people 6 days a week for 40 years? You'd be freaking Yoda. That's why the guy's not a genius. He's just been around. He's been really consistent at asking really great questions to really great people. He gets them to open up. And I was reading this book and going like, whoa, you can do that as your interview with your new clients, your new coaches, your new prospects, your new whatever challengers. That's what I meant to say. It's getting to know them, like get to know about them. And boy, that's where you're building the relationship. So, yeah, I mean, and anything John C. Maxwell's written is like, you can't go wrong with him. So if somebody just went, I don't know about this, great, just get something from John C. Maxwell and read it, and you know, it'd be great.
You muted, Danny. You're muted. Danny, you're muted.
It's been a great call, I have to say, for an hour and a half. I don't think we had one that lasted that long before.
Yeah.
But, anyway, I just want to thank you once again, Mike, and we'll certainly get that blog going on the personal development. I think it's a great idea. I think people are lacking some of that for the gentlemen personally. So we'll get on that. So thank you very much once again.
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate your time. I'm sorry to go long, but you know, I know that this info can help. It's recorded, so people can get bits and pieces and, you know, whatever. But just, you know, have fun, continue this journey, and anything you guys need, let me know. I'm happy to help.
I look forward to the diamond.
Diamond diagram?
Yeah.
I'll
pretty sure I got the concept, but it'd be nice to see.
Yeah, it's easy. You're gonna laugh when you see it. It's generic, but it works. So you know,
might be what I already have, but hey, I'd rather see it and laugh than not have it.
All right, cool. It's done.
Thanks.
All right, guys.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you, gents. We'll see you in 2 weeks with another call. Thank you.
Thank you.